So I went to Iran for the wedding, where my brother, in a crazy adventure, got married, and there were some questions, in fact. The bridal party, the bridesmaids, we discovered were hired for the event, which I thought was a little unusual, but perhaps that's just what happens in Iran. The women are not really allowed to mix with the men unless you're actually getting married, so it's quite difficult. So the women appeared to be hired for the event, and they never actually spoke. The bridesmaids never actually spoke. I just assumed that tall women with large hands were part of the cultural differences in Iran. Very interesting country. We certainly didn't have a lot of other women to meet to compare. Interesting times. So I went to Iran for the wedding, which was fabulous, very interesting. And for the wedding we had a live goat sacrifice with blood drained in the gutter outside the wedding venue, which was a little unusual. Some of that meat does get donated to the poor, so very different, very interesting. The food there, I must admit, was fabulous. Very, very delicious. We were required to eat an awful lot of it. If you don't eat a lot of that delicious food, in fact far more than you actually want, then you may be offending your host. So it was quite a struggle. It was quite a struggle to get through the delicious food, but you just have to eat until you're full to bursting, and then you have to eat some more so that you don't offend your host. I never would have imagined that I was in a wedding party of just men. You can't dance with women if you're a man. The men dance with the men and have a wedding party, all men, and then you all go home. It's a little different, and it was quite the adventure, but suddenly I found myself dancing with a lot of men. And at one point on that trip I did go jogging and enjoying the countryside, and I noticed that there was this interesting facility. So I took some selfie photographs. I couldn't read the hieroglyphics and had no idea it was a secret Iranian military installation. And as soon as I did start taking the selfies, there was some very loud yelling, and a man, he didn't seem very friendly, started running towards me in camouflage clothes. So I did what any normal person would do. I ran as fast as I could the other direction, which was quite a challenge. I had joggers on, and there was snow and ice on the pavement, and I was slip sliding away. Meanwhile, this very unfriendly and very aggressive man was yelling very loudly, and I figured it was not the right thing to do to be caught, so I just did what I just ran as fast as I could, and thank goodness I could run faster than he could. Yikes, that was quite a challenge. A little bit later I was going to catch a flight to London via the States. And I turned up the airport and they said, you need an ESTA visa waiver. No problem, take a couple of minutes, do it online. I went online and it said, have you had any military training? Yes. Have you had any explosives training? Yes. Have you ever been to Iran? Yes. At this point the screen was coming up with, are you really sure? Which gave me a little bit of a concern. I said, well, I kind of yes, so I have been to Iran. I have had explosives training in the special forces. To say yes to these questions. Yes, travel denied. That was the end of me flying to London that day. I'm not even going to the States, I'm just transiting. ESTA visa, transiting, you need this, you have to tick, if you tick the box, if you've been to Iran, you are a bad boy. Okay, so that was a challenge. A year later I wanted to actually visit America. Yeah. I had to go in for a personal interview. It took about 3, maybe 4 or 5 months to get the appointment to go in. And I went in to the appointment and they wanted to know what I had for breakfast, and most importantly, what on earth was I doing in Iran? I tried to explain dancing. I mean, why else would you go to Iran? I wanted to dance in the wedding, for goodness sakes. Is that so difficult to understand? I don't know, he didn't seem to have the same sense of humour, or perhaps understanding of the joy of dance. Either way, I got some dirty looks.
Oh no!
But fortunately, about a year later, I actually got a 5-year visa to go to visit America. Woohoo! They did put a little note on there saying he didn't pass his ESTA waiver, so you keep an eye on this guy. You never know, he might be dancing or singing, and as we know in this pandemic times, dancing and singing is actually illegal in many countries. Thank God, not in Sweden. Der intellektuelle danskurs under pandemi, men sverige verkar vara det perfekta stället. Come join our dance classes at the Malmo Canoe Club, where you can learn bachata or salsa. Beginner classes, come join, come connect, have some fun. We want to see you there.
Subscribe. Turn. Toss. There we go. Let's go. Yes. And. Basic. Step touch. Here we go. And step touch. Step touch. Basic. High five, rotate!